O Maker, O my Rabbul Alameen, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please forgive me for I have sinned. Do these words sound familiar to you? Well, they should do. Please, I am begging all of you, if you've done a sin, at the least say Astaghfirullah. Because every time you sin is a great opportunity to remember your Maker. And I believe that is one of the reasons that humans sin. Because it gives us a moment to step out from our daily life and say, Ya Allah, I am sorry for what I've done. Ya Allah, I am repentful for what I've done. You know, in that moment, those 5-10 minutes when you're repenting to your Maker, those are 5-10 minutes when you would have been doing something else, right? Now, I'm not telling us to go into sin just to give an excuse to say, oh, Maker, I've sinned. You know, don't do sins. You try to avoid it like it's the plague. You know, if there's some guy out there who's got like every kind of disease imaginable and is hyper, infectious, you would try to avoid that person, right? You'd be like, heck no, hell to the no. I'm gonna have like all kind of barriers and protections. And in your life, you should do the same thing with sins. You know, you have all kind of barriers and protections. And barriers, doing goodness will keep you away from sin naturally. You know, it is very difficult. I mean, it's possible if you want to really scrutinize and imagine some way, but mostly doing goodness, right? Doing goodness will evade you from sin. It is a natural protection from sin. You know, if you're doing goodness, you're not going to be sinning, right? Logically, think about it, right? If you're doing goodness, you're naturally going to evade the badness. So, I'm urging all of you, whenever you do a mistake, never think that this is the last thing. I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is never going to forgive me for this. Because, the mercy of our Maker is so vast and so great. We often forget that the words of the Quran, the Quran, almost every surah in the Quran begins with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, which means in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. You think about that. You're being told over and over again, He's the most merciful. In fact, when we're supposed to enter a house, we say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. When we put our hand on the doorknob, we say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, we never should forget the mercy of our Maker. I'm urging all of you, remember your Maker, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, and stay Astaghfirullah. Don't just be on Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. Whenever you say Astaghfirullah, really honestly think for something you've been repentful for, because I can guarantee there's something you're repentful for. And even if you can't think of something, just think of that feeling of repentance. So please, brothers and sisters, avoid sin like the plague. And when you do engage sin, remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you that sin is an opportunity to repent to your Maker. Use that moment, because we're all human, we're all weak, we're all going to engage in sin at some point. But use those moments of sin to remember your Maker and say, Ya Allah, please forgive me. Because you're flipping that sin from something bad to something good. And try in that moment, or as soon as possible. Don't do it like a month later. It's like, well, a month ago I did this, I did that, I did this, I did this. So that's like, what, 10 people? I'm going to feed 10 people. No, you got to do it when you're feeling it. Go online, give sadaqah, give to charity. I'm urging all of you, remember your Maker, avoid sin, but sin is sometimes unavoidable. We humans are going to create sin. Sometimes we do it without even thinking. Sometimes we're talking to someone and we lie without thinking. We're like, oh man, I've just lied to this person, because we're so used to it. Especially people who are new to Islam. Sometimes we're so used to lying, especially in the West. Everyone's lying to everyone. In fact, we always kind of expect it. Everyone's like, well, it's too good to be true, because we kind of expect to be lied to, which is a sad state of affairs in itself. But whenever you make even the smallest sin, never think that that sin is unforgivable, and always ask for forgiveness. So remember, Ummah of Islam, remember my words and come to goodness. Come to goodness.